the panic disorder and the anxiety that you faced, I want to ask you about that. When did you start seeing that affect you emotionally, mental health wise? Did you have panic attacks in the locker room or after games? Like where did it flare up where you go, oh shit, something's wrong right now, I need help?
Yeah, I was in training camp, and I had a roommate. I just woke up in the middle of the night, heart racing. I just felt awful. And that was the moment right there where I knew I had to change my life. And a lot of it came from, I think, the negative energy that I had during that time. I had a lot of negative energy. I was going to clubs. I was partying. I just wasn't living my best life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're battling with what you're supposed to do and where you feel like you need to be, and you have that over there that you're doing, and it's not right, then that's when that tug of war start to happen. So I knew I had to change my life around, and that was that moment for me right there in training camp when I was in San Francisco.
Do you look back at that as your life-changing rock bottom moment of like splashing the water in the face or just kind of facing? I mean, we were talking about Nate Burleson. He woke up when he was injured at a hotel room in bed, and he had got like super drunk and there was pills next to him, and he realized like, I could have chose that, or I could have flipped the switch and changed. Right. Do you kind of see that as your moment in that training camp room?
Yeah, that was my moment. I mean, not only was that the moment, I think that whole year and that season was the moment for me. I mean, I felt like I had nothing to live for. I had the biggest weight on my back. I mean, it was at the most weight on my back. I felt like I was in like the darkest place I've ever been, ever. I had nothing to live for. It's like I remember sitting there. I was in the car. I'm like, I'm living? Why am I living right now? Like life doesn't even mean anything to me. I just felt that way. I just the feeling I had, but I was able to get out of it. I just broke away. It's like I broke away from like the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I escaped. And when I escaped, I was like, you know what? There's so much. Life is precious. Life is everything. This is a gift for us to be able to see something that we've never seen before from the moment we were born. We opened our eyes. The gift of life. And I think since that day, it's always been like a constant battle in me just working on myself, my mental health, my spirit, and just who I stand for as a person.
The question that you ask yourself of what do I have to live for, or why am I here? I have asked myself that and struggled with that since I was 14 years old all the way up to 2 years ago. And it's a very, very scary thing you ask yourself and you start to think about. Have you ever struggled with suicidal thoughts? Were those suicidal thoughts in that moment of maybe I shouldn't be here?
Those were suicidal thoughts. I mean, I had nothing to live for. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I drive off a bridge or like when you're thinking like that, you're basically trying to figure out a way, okay, you feel like you should, if you had a gun beside you, shoot yourself, pretty much. Yeah. That's one of those moments.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and you can't control it.
Yeah.
If you haven't experienced it, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And if you look at, if you go back in the history of time, whether it was 10 years from now or a year ago, there have been cases where, celebrities that we know of or people we know in general have been in that same state.
Yeah.
And they've taken their life. So I'm trying to figure out what's the parallel between, not the parallel, but what's the difference between someone like myself versus someone like them?
Right.
What did I have in that given moment, in that given day or week that allowed me to break free and say, no, this is not, taking my life isn't the best thing to do.
Well, I had, one of my friends I went to college at Cincinnati, Corey Cunningham, who was an offensive lineman for the Giants, who took his own life 6-7 months ago. And this is a guy that I went back and forth with, and he knew exactly what I was doing and was loving the mental health stuff I was doing. And it's, I work with a lot of professionals now that tell me how we can help each other in those moments and what happens. And it's a very instantaneous thing, especially in young people where something happens, whether it's online or in life. For me, a breakup was fueling a lot of it and some deaths in the family for my own personal battles. But within 2 or 3 hours of having that thought, it's over because they didn't feel like they could open up and be safe in those moments. Before, you had mentioned since 2019, you had, I think, 5 family members that were battling, some mental health struggles. Mm-hmm. What was that effect on you watching that after what you had been through struggling with your own suicidal thoughts?
Well, I think because I had so much going on in my life. I think when you develop something like that, it's a combination of trauma. It's just trauma adding up.
Yeah.
One on top of another, right? And that's what it was. It was me watching my family, the experiences that I had with them. My brother developing paranoid schizophrenia. He probably would have been first round draft pick as well. Mm-hmm. Him going into a mental institution from out of nowhere. My mom, my dad not being there, just all of those different things, and then just battling with the demon inside myself. It put me in that space.
Yeah,
it put me in that space. So that's if I go back and I just think on like that day when it initially happened, it's just the combination of all those different experiences, the trauma, the different layers of trauma that's surfacing in my body.
You keep saying the word trauma, and it's something that affects all of us. And if you hold it in, you don't get it out, it's going to keep haunting you and hurting you. What was it like to get some of that trauma out of you when you first started going to therapy or talking to friends and family, teammates, being open about it? I imagine it had to help you a lot.
Well, I wish I would have got on top of it faster, sooner, because we don't think about like what's going to happen, right? We're going to lose so many people. If you're living on this earth from 80 to 90 years old, you're going to lose a lot of people that you love.
Yep.
And you find in life that there's some people that you love more than the person you thought you loved most, right?
Yeah.
I thought I loved my mom most, but when my brother passed, that really had an effect on me, right? That's why I say I wish I'd have got a hold of my trauma sooner, because if you don't, you're going to find that when people pass or you go through certain things, mostly when you lose someone,
right,
that trauma that you have in your body, it's going to surface in a way where you might not be fully equipped.
Yep.
You might be in a situation where you actually take your life because you didn't get a hold of what you needed to get on top of a lot sooner.